Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're serious about moving past, just textbook English, you've probably felt that core challenge.
Hmm.
You can master every tense, you can conquer the passive voice maybe, but then you step into a real-world conversation and something still feels, well, stiff.
Yeah, a bit robotic sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're missing the social code, those tiny essential phrases that carry this huge weight, not in their dictionary definition necessarily, but in their tone and their context.
That is absolutely the crux of fluency, isn't it?
Yeah.
We focus so much on what words mean, but often not enough on how they actually function socially.
Right.
These are the kinds of linguistic tools that native speakers just use almost reflexively,
Yeah.
to manage politeness, show genuine intent, and just smooth out interactions.
Smooth them out. Yeah.
If you can get these right, you can immediately sound more natural, not just sort of technically correct.
And that is precisely our mission today. We've pinpointed 4 really common English expressions. They look simple, maybe deceptively simple,
Definitely deceptive.
but they're crucially nuanced. And we're going to perform a deep dive on each one. We're aiming to give you, our listener, the ultimate shortcut, maybe, to conversational ease.
By really pulling apart the social context.
Exactly. Extracting the social context, the linguistic structure behind it, and the practical application, those aha moments.
Right, and we'll meticulously explore the different scenarios for each phrase. We really have to focus intensely on things like intonation and acoustic awareness. It sounds technical, but it's vital.
Acoustic awareness. I like that.
Because using these phrases accurately,
Yeah.
that's the difference between, seamless communication and a really awkward misunderstanding. They're kind of the scaffolding of rapport, if you think about it.
Scaffolding of rapport. Okay, I'm ready. Let's start this investigation. We're diving straight into what I think is one of the biggest potential social landmines for advanced learners. The phrase, "that's funny." Okay, so that's funny. On the surface, the core meaning seems pretty obvious, right? Expressing amusement.
Yeah, the ha-ha meaning someone tells a hilarious story, maybe about a disastrous first date or something.
Right, and you respond with energy. That's funny. You laugh. It's clear.
Clear signal of amusement.
Yeah.
High energy.
But here's where it gets really, really interesting. In everyday English, funny is incredibly versatile. It very often means something completely different.
Totally different. Like, that's unexpected, or that's strange, or even, that's a bit puzzling.
Exactly. And that duality, the humor versus the confusion, it's determined almost entirely by the intonation and the context around it.
100%. And learners who just treat the phrase as a single-function joke response,
Yeah.
they're going to misfire constantly.
Oh, absolutely. It can lead to some really awkward moments.
So we need to dissect the acoustic markers,
Yeah.
the sound profiles, if you will, associated with both meanings.
Okay, let's do it. Scenario A, genuine humor.
Right. So someone finishes a witty anecdote. Let's use your example. Maybe they're recounting their dog's ridiculously clever escape plan from the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Your reaction needs to match their energy, their storytelling vibe.
Yeah.
This version of "that's funny" is typically delivered with, like, a higher pitch,
Higher pitch. Yeah.
a sharp attack, almost, on the word "that's." So, that's funny.
Got it. Quick and sharp.
And often accompanied by genuine laughter, or at least a bright, enthusiastic smile. It's an immediate, upbeat affirmation. The phrase itself is usually spoken quite quickly, too.
That high energy, that speed, that's the social cue, isn't it? You're basically validating the storyteller's performance.
Precisely. You're showing them, I got the joke, I appreciate your comedic timing, well done.
And if you pause too long before saying it, or deliver it really flatly, like, "that's funny."
Oof. Yeah, the speaker might immediately think their story just fell flat, bombed.
Right. You haven't performed that affirmative ritual. It's key in English social bonding, that kind of mirroring of amusement.
It really is. But let me probe that a little, because you raised a good point earlier.
Yeah.
What if the humor is more subtle? Say it's dry wit.
Yeah, like a clever, maybe slightly cynical observation about politics or modern life, rather than a slapstick story.
Does the energy level stay sky high then? Or is there a softer version?
Good question. What do you think?
Well, I'd say that's a crucial nuance. For dry wit, the delivery might soften considerably. You're probably not going to burst out laughing.
Right, less explosive.
But the inflection still needs to remain positive and appreciative. It might transition into more of a thoughtful smile, maybe a slightly slower delivery. That is funny. See, the emphasis on is.
Okay, so the core appreciation is still there in the tone.
Exactly. You're acknowledging the cleverness, the intellectual humor, but you're still using the phrase to signal agreement with the humorous observation. The moment you drop that positive inflection, maybe add a slight frown or a tilt of the head,
Then you cross the line.
you transition straight into confusion territory.
It's
Which brings us perfectly to scenario B.
Scenario B, unexpected oddity or confusion. This is where "that's funny" signals mild surprise, maybe perplexity, definitely not joy.
And this is where that acoustic awareness we mentioned becomes absolutely paramount.
Yeah.
You have to hear the difference.
Give us an example.
Okay, imagine you're, I don't know, doing a load of laundry. You open the washing machine, and inside, sitting amongst the wet clothes, is a perfectly untouched, full loaf of bread.
Okay. Weird. Very weird.
You wouldn't burst into laughter, would you? Unless maybe you're really sleep-deprived.
No, probably not. I'd be confused.
Exactly. You'd likely pause, your brow would furrow, and you'd say, probably quite slowly and with a low, maybe flat pitch, "That's funny."
Yeah, that's
I don't remember putting that in there.
be honest.
Notice the difference. The pitch is lower, the tone is curious, maybe a little puzzled.
And the word funny itself might be slightly drawn out.
Often, yes, stretched slightly. And crucially, it often carries a slight upward inflection at the very end, like a little question mark hanging in the air.
That's funny, suggesting an unspoken, what is it going on here?
Precisely. That upward tick is vital. It signals mystery, a puzzle to be solved, rather than mirth or amusement. The word funny here basically just means this is an anomaly, this requires investigation.
Right. And this isn't just for finding bread in the washing machine. This applies in, say, professional contexts too, right?
Oh, absolutely. All the time. Imagine you're looking at a spreadsheet with a colleague. You noticed a number that seems way off, a significant data discrepancy.
Okay.
You might point to the screen and say, with that same puzzled tone, that's funny. Yesterday, this column definitely read 0.
You're not cracking a joke about the numbers.
Not at all. You're flagging a strange, unexpected error, something that needs diagnosis and correction. The funny here means problematic or needs attention.
So the required mental shift for the learner is huge here. They absolutely have to decouple the word funny from the feeling of amusement in these contexts.
It's fundamental. When used for confusion, the delivery is often, as we said, curious, slightly puzzled, maybe even a bit hesitant. It actually invites the listener to share in the perplexity.
It's almost like saying, am I seeing this right? Can you help explain this strange thing?
Yes, exactly that. It opens a door for collaborative problem solving in a way.
So if we connect this back to the learner's experience, the social consequences of getting this wrong are immediate and, frankly, pretty awkward.
Oh, massively awkward. Imagine a colleague mentions a really strange, serious technical bug that's costing the company time and money.
Okay, serious situation.
And you, trying to use your English, respond with a big, bright, enthusiastic, "Oh, that's funny."
Ouch. You've just implied you find their professional crisis absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, rapport. Destroyed.
Yeah.
Instantly. You look insensitive, maybe even a bit cruel.
Or the reverse could happen too, right?
Absolutely. Someone tells a genuinely funny, perhaps self-deprecating story about a silly mistake they made, hoping for a laugh.
They're looking for shared amusement.
And you respond with a flat, confused, slow, that's funny, delivered with a frown.
Now they feel like you found their story bizarre or inappropriate instead of entertaining.
Right. You've shut down the connection instead of building it.
I would argue this is honestly one of the hardest phrases to master, maybe just because the context and the sound override the dictionary meaning so completely. How can learners really overcome this acoustic hurdle? It feels quite subtle.
It is subtle, but it's learnable. Practice listening is key. Pay hyper attention to the duration and the pitch contour.
So specifically,
If the phrase is fast, sharp, and relatively high-pitched, maybe with laughter, assume it's humor.
okay, fast, sharp, high, accuse humor.
If it's slower, lower-pitched, maybe drawn out slightly, and often followed by a specific example of the oddity, I thought I left my keys on the table.
Yeah.
Assume it's confusion or strangeness.
Slow, low, specific confusion.
Exactly. And learners should actively try recording themselves. Say, "That's funny," trying to convey genuine amusement. Then say it again, try to convey puzzlement about finding, socks in the dishwasher.
Compare the recordings.
Yes. Listen back. Does it sound different? Keep practicing until that tonal difference feels natural and controllable. True fluency here really requires training your ear just as much as your mouth. It's about auditory discrimination.
Okay, moving on to our second phrase. This one is quite different. It's a powerful tool, I think, for setting definitive boundaries and managing expectations. There's nothing I can do, sometimes with the optional about it tagged on the end.
Yes, and what's really fascinating here structurally is that this phrase is inherently a statement of finality. It communicates a definitive, unchangeable inability to influence a situation.
Right, it's not, I won't do anything, it's, I can't do anything. Big difference.
Huge difference. It's the verbal equivalent of a closed door,
Uh,
basically. It signals that the speaker has either exhausted all available options or, perhaps more commonly, that the problem lies strictly outside their authorized scope of control.
It feels like a really critical phrase in, say, high stakes environments, maybe customer service or administration, precisely because it admits defeat or helplessness, but crucially, it does so by citing external limitations, not personal failure or unwillingness.
Exactly. It deflects the responsibility away from the individual speaker onto the system, the policy, the circumstances. Let's look at scenario A, which you mentioned, the professional or institutional boundary setting. This is where the phrase carries maximum weight, I'd say.
Okay, give us an example.
Right. Imagine a strict business context. Someone's trying to register for a really vital training course, but the official deadline passed 2 days ago. They're pleading with the registrar.
Okay, common situation. High stakes for the person trying to register.
The registrar might have to explain very clearly, look, the online system automatically locks access exactly 48 hours after the course start date. We literally cannot manually override the server settings once they've closed the enrollment cohort for this session.
So establishing the hard system limit first.
Yes, laying out the constraint. Then comes the phrase, I understand this is inconvenient and I wish there was a way, but institutionally, there's nothing I can do.
Ah, institutionally. That adds weight.
It does. The strength of the phrase here lies in its systemic defense. It's not the individual registrar saying, I won't help you. It's the established policy saying, I cannot be bypassed.
Right. It signals to the listener that, escalating the issue probably won't work either. Trying to go up the chain of command is likely to be fruitless if the limitation is genuinely rooted in the structure of the system itself, not just the cloak's personal authority or willingness.
It enforces the policy as a final, impersonal barrier. It attempts to depersonalize the refusal.
But, okay, if the phrase signals such hard finality, doesn't that carry a significant risk? Doesn't it risk sounding overly bureaucratic, maybe cold, or even uncaring, especially when you're dealing with someone who's clearly distressed or frustrated?
That is an absolutely excellent point and a key challenge for learners using this phrase effectively.
How do you mitigate that hardness? Can you soften it with tone or maybe the language around it?
Yes, you absolutely must. The learner has to learn to layer empathy before delivering the boundary. You cannot or should not lead with, there's nothing I can do. That's just blunt.
So buffer it first.
Exactly. You need to preface it with a clear statement of understanding or shared concern. Something like, I can see this is really important for you, and I sincerely wish I could waive this late fee, or I've genuinely checked every possible avenue in the system for you, and unfortunately.
Show the effort, express regret.
Precisely. By confirming you've made the effort and expressing sincere regret, you soften the blow of the hard policy enforcement. The tone needs to be one of, perhaps, regretful authority, not dismissiveness or indifference. Calm, clear, but empathetic.
That makes sense. It acknowledges the person's feelings before stating the limitation.
Okay, now let's pivot to the other main use case. Scenario B, personal resignation or sympathy. In this setting, the phrase functions quite differently. The situation is usually a shared, often minor, frustration, or maybe a natural occurrence that's just completely beyond anyone's control.
Right, like the classic example,
Yeah.
you're stuck in absolutely terrible traffic, just gridlocked.
Yeah. You call a friend or colleague to say you're going to be seriously late for your meeting.
And they might look up the traffic report online and respond, oh, that sounds awful. Yeah, looks like the main highway is completely shut down ahead because of an accident. Wow. Well, there's nothing you can do now except wait it out, I guess.
Or maybe even, there's nothing I can do to help you get here faster. In that context, the phrase shifts its meaning completely. It transforms from that hard institutional boundary.
Into something much softer.
Exactly. To a soft acceptance of fate or shared helplessness. It serves primarily to express solidarity with the listener's frustration. It's a way of saying, hey, we're both kind of victims of this external force right now, and we just have to accept it.
So it manages the immediate expectation not by enforcing a rule, but by acknowledging a shared, inescapable reality. It builds connection through shared inconvenience.
Yeah, it's almost a bonding phrase in that context.
Okay, this brings us to a really interesting linguistic point you touched on earlier. The power of that little parenthetical addition, the choice to include or omit about it at the end.
Yes, the about it.
Hmm.
The detail here is surprisingly significant, I think.
How so?
Well, generally speaking, when you include about it, saying the full phrase, there's nothing I can do about it, you're making the statement slightly more emphatic, more
Eh,
definitive.
Sharper, maybe.
Often, yes, a little sharper. It emphasizes the completeness of the helplessness regarding that specific issue. It's very often used in those professional boundary-setting contexts we talked about, precisely to definitively close the topic to further negotiation or appeal. It has a rhythm of finality. Nothing I can do about it, full stop.
Right. It seals the deal conversationally.
Whereas omitting that final phrase, just saying more simply, there's nothing I can do, often allows the statement to feel slightly softer, a touch more conversational, maybe more emotionally proximate.
Especially in that scenario B, the personal resignation context.
Exactly. In the traffic jam example, just saying, well, there's nothing I can do feels a bit gentler, a bit more resigned than the more forceful, there's nothing I can do about it. Omitting it keeps the focus maybe more on the immediate shared feeling of frustration, rather than hammering home the complete lack of external recourse.
So subtle, but it changes the flavor.
Definitely. So if we connect this back to the bigger picture for the learner,
Hmm.
mastering this phrase, including the nuance of adding or dropping about it, is a vital tool. It's for emotional self-regulation, in a way, but more importantly, for managing external expectations clearly and appropriately.
Knowing how and when to deploy this boundary firmly with about it in a professional setting, perhaps more gently without it in a personal one, is crucial for clarity.
It allows the speaker to close a potentially difficult topic quite gracefully, confirming that the limit is real, without necessarily appearing cold, incompetent, or unwilling. It's actually a highly efficient way to manage disappointment, both yours and the other person's.
All right, our third phrase today is this is a good one. It's perhaps one of the most nuanced pieces of conversational diplomacy an English learner can possibly master. I better let you go.
Ah, yes. This one is almost linguistically paradoxical, isn't it?
How do you mean?
Well, its underlying function, its real purpose, is usually to end the conversation because I, the speaker, need to leave or stop talking.
Right. I have something else to do. My time is up.
Exactly. But the language used cleverly attributes the reason for ending the conversation to your needs, the listener's needs, or schedule. It frames the departure as being for the listener's benefit.
I better let you go. It's profoundly polite, almost deferential as a strategy.
It completely shifts the perceived responsibility for ending the chat. You're essentially saying, I recognize your time is valuable, and I should stop taking it up now.
Even if the listener has nowhere else to be.
Precisely. It avoids sounding rushed or self-centered or abrupt or just plain blunt, like saying, okay, I have to go now. It's a verbal equivalent of, I don't know, carefully wrapping up a gift before handing it over. It makes the exit feel smooth, considered, and thoughtful.
Let's unpack the structure for a second. You mentioned I'd. That's I had, right? I had better let you go.
Correct. Had better is a modal verb construction. It functions very much like should or ought to, expressing a strong recommendation or a sense of obligation. In more formal terms, it means something like, I judge that it is advisable for me to proceed with this action.
So it uses the structure of necessity. This action is recommended or required, but then softens it by framing it around outward consideration for the other person.
Exactly. The recommended action is releasing the listener from the conversation, ostensibly for their sake. Very clever, socially.
Okay, so where do we use it most often? Scenario A seems obvious. Ending a phone call.
Yes, that's probably its most common habitat. It functions as a standard closing ritual in phone conversations, both personal and professional. But crucially, it has to be set up properly.
You can't just blurt it out mid-sentence.
No,
Oh,
definitely not.
sure.
That would still feel abrupt. To make the phrase feel smooth and genuinely diplomatic, it requires certain preceding conversational rituals. You need to pave the way.
Like what?
Well, you typically need to signal the conversation is winding down. You might summarize key points discussed, or express thanks for the call, or perhaps set the stage for the next interaction.
Give me an example.
Okay, maybe you've been on the phone getting some complex information. You could say, okay, great. So just to confirm then, I've emailed you those documents we discussed, and you'll aim to review them by Thursday. That's perfect. Thanks so much again for taking the time to walk me through all that detail. I really appreciate it.
Okay, summary and thanks delivered.
Then you add the transition. Listen, I know you probably have a busy afternoon ahead, another call coming up soon, so I better let you go now.
Ah, see? The preceding gratitude and the brief summary justify the transition. It makes the exit feel earned and thoughtful, not sudden or dismissive.
It's like giving the other person a gentle, conversational 2-minute warning. It signals, okay, we are now entering the conclusion sequence. If you skip that necessary summarizing or thanking action, the phrase, even though it's polite in form, can still land a bit suddenly.
Preparation is key for politeness here.
Definitely. And then there's scenario B, using it to signal awareness of the other person's schedule, even when you're talking in person.
How's that work?
This is often used when the listener themselves has previously mentioned some kind of time constraint or upcoming obligation that you're now graciously acknowledging.
Okay, like my friend mentioned earlier, they have a doctor's appointment at 4.
Exactly. And you happen to glance at the clock, and it's suddenly 3:30. You can step in proactively almost to take the social pressure off them. You can say something like, hey, I just realized the time. I know you mentioned you were headed out for that doctor's appointment soon, and I definitely don't want to make you rush. Look, I think I'd better let you go so you have plenty of time to get there without stressing.
Ah, that's really considerate. It removes that internal conflict the listener might be feeling. That awkwardness of, how do I politely interrupt this interesting chat to say I need to leave?
Exactly. You're anticipating their need and facilitating their exit. It's a small act of conversational generosity, really.
What really stands out to me here is the immediate transformation this phrase offers the English learner. By mastering "I'd better let you go," they instantly upgrade their perceived conversational maturity.
How so?
They stop being potentially perceived as the person who's maybe rushing off rudely or only thinking about their own schedule. I gotta go.
And they become
They become the person who sounds considerate, aware of the listener's time, mindful of prior commitments mentioned. It's a significant leap socially. It's an essential tool for kind of respectful time management and conversation.
in the crucial distinction. Again, comes down to that social polish. Just contrast this phrase with the more blunt alternatives people might use.
Like,
Okay, I have to leave now, or sorry, I'm out of time, or even a casual, right, gotta run. Those phrases clearly prioritize the speaker's needs and schedule.
they're self-focused exits.
Completely. But I better let you go. Even if you, the speaker, are the one who is desperately running late for your next meeting, cleverly frames the exit around the listener's assumed busy schedule or need to get on with their day. It makes the ending feel graceful and, importantly, relationship maintaining. It's the ultimate polite exit key.
Okay, on to our final phrase for this deep dive. This is an incredibly useful, yet I think often underestimated phrasal verb, especially when you're trying to establish professional credibility. Look into something.
Yes, look into. And what's fascinating here is how much more rigorous the implied definition of this phrasal verb is compared to simpler alternatives like check or look at.
What do you mean by rigorous?
Look into specifically means to investigate, to research, or to examine a matter thoroughly. It strongly implies a systematic process, a deeper dive, rather than just a quick glance or a simple verification.
So it's not superficial.
Not at all. And fundamentally, the phrase functions as a linguistic device for making a commitment to future effort and, crucially, follow-up.
That's interesting. It's a promise, essentially.
It really is, and it's powerful because it allows a speaker to acknowledge a problem or a question they don't have an immediate answer for, while simultaneously projecting confidence that the answer will be found or the issue will be addressed properly.
And because it's a phrasal verb, it carries that specific idiomatic weight, doesn't it? It often sounds more natural in daily conversation than maybe more formal verbs like "I will investigate" or "I shall examine."
Absolutely. It fits more smoothly into professional dialogue. Let's look at scenario A, the professional investigation. This is probably its most common and important usage context. It's the standard, expected response when information is missing, or a problem needs formal diagnosis in a work environment.
Okay, example time.
Imagine a client calls, quite concerned. They've pointed out what looks like a clear discrepancy on their monthly billing statement. You review it quickly, and you agree it doesn't look right, but you don't know the cause immediately.
Okay, you can't solve it on the spot.
Right. The appropriate professional response is something like, "Thank you for bringing this to my attention." Hmm, you're right, that doesn't look correct. I will look into that billing issue immediately and get back to you with a detailed explanation, hopefully by the end of the day.
I will look into it. Clear commitment.
Exactly. And the professional expectation that comes with that phrase is crystal clear. Looking into it means the speaker is now taking ownership of the problem. They're responsible for it until a resolution is found, or, at the very least, a detailed explanation is provided back to the client.
It buys the speaker necessary time, right? Time for that systematic analysis, maybe checking records, talking to accounting, doing some testing.
Yes, but it does so while reassuring the client. It's a promise of diligence. It signals a methodical process of analysis is about to begin, not just a quick, casual glance at the paperwork later on.
So the phrase itself manages the client's immediate anxiety because they know the problem is now officially assigned, logged, and being taken seriously.
Precisely. It suggests not just what you will do, find information or fix the error, but implicitly how you will do it, systematically, thoroughly.
Okay, that's the professional side, but we also use it more casually, right? Scenario B, casual research.
Yes, we definitely do. Agreeing to investigate a topic of mutual curiosity, for instance. It might be less formal in this setting, but that core element of commitment still remains, I think.
So maybe you and a colleague are chatting over coffee about some obscure piece of industry history. Perhaps the real origin story of a specific manufacturing technique or a supply chain practice.
Yeah, and maybe there are conflicting rumors or legends about it. You might say, I've heard those stories too, but I'm not sure what the actual documented history is.
Tell you what, I'll look into the original company archives, founders' documents this weekend, and see if I can confirm the real details.
Still a promise of research.
Exactly. In this more casual setting, the commitment is obviously driven by personal curiosity rather than professional obligation. But the meaning holds. It's still a promise to conduct specific, targeted research to gain deeper, hopefully verifiable knowledge. The tone confirms you're going to actively seek out reliable sources, not just, do a quick web search.
Right.
Okay, now, this commitment aspect, we really need to emphasize the required mental shift for the learner here, don't we?
Absolutely critical, because this phrase, "I will look into it," functions as a soft commitment. It must be followed by action, or trust is fundamentally broken.
It's not just an empty platitude to get someone off the phone.
It absolutely shouldn't be treated that way, especially in a work environment. If you tell a customer, "I will look into your refund request," and then you completely fail to follow up, maybe you forget or just don't bother.
What's the impact?
You haven't just ignored them, you've actively misled them. You've broken a specific verbal promise of investigation that you initiated. The damage to trust and your professional reputation can be significant.
So, rule number one, only say, "I'll look into it" if you actually intend to do it and follow up.
100%. And this leads us to an essential contrast, one that often confuses learners.
Yeah.
The difference between look into and check out. They are definitely not interchangeable.
Okay, break that down. Look into versus check out.
Checkout is almost always quicker, more surface level. It often involves simple verification, maybe a brief assessment, or just finding a specific piece of readily available information.
Examples of checkout.
You check out the opening hours of a library. You check out a new restaurant menu online. You check out a news headline. You check out a book from the library. It's often a quick transaction or a rapid assessment of something external.
Okay, quick surface verification and look into.
Look into, as we've established, implies a much more systematic, often more time-consuming process. It suggests diagnosis, research, understanding the root cause of something, gathering information from multiple sources, perhaps.
So you wouldn't usually say, "I need to look into the price of a movie ticket."
Probably not, unless maybe the pricing seemed incredibly complex or wrong. You'd normally say, "I need to check the price," or "check out the showtimes." But you would say, "The company needs to look into why ticket sales have dropped 30% this quarter." That requires analysis, investigation, understanding factors, a deep dive. Or you'd look into the reason the movie theater delayed its grand opening date by 6 months, which might involve looking at zoning regulations, construction permits, supply chain issues, a whole investigation.
Got it. Deeper, systematic problem solving or research.
Exactly. So if we connect this back to the bigger picture for the learner, mastering look into is incredibly critical for professional communication. It allows you to defer answering a complex question or solving a difficult problem immediately, but to do so professionally.
Without sounding dismissive.
Right, or resorting to that blunt, sometimes unprofessional omission, I don't know, which can undermine confidence.
I'll look into that. Projects, confidence, competence, and crucially, that commitment to resolution, even when you don't have the answer right now.
Precisely. It's the ultimate conversational bridge between encountering a knowledge gap or a tricky problem and eventually delivering a reliable answer or solution, a vital tool. Hashtag tag tag outro.
Wow, okay. We have completed a pretty comprehensive deep dive, I think, into the hidden social rules and the real functional power embedded in four common English phrases.
We really unpacked them.
We started with, that's funny, highlighting that intense need for contextual and, as you called it, acoustic awareness to distinguish between genuine humor and genuine confusion. Get the tone wrong and it all falls apart.
We then explored there's nothing I can do, possibly, with that emphatic about it. We saw it as an essential tool for setting those definitive boundaries, managing external expectations of finality, but also stressing the absolute need to layer empathy into that potentially harsh message.
Buffer it first.
All right.
Then third, we really mastered I better let you go. That sophisticated diplomatic exit strategy that cleverly uses a structure of necessity, I had better, but frames it to prioritize the listener's schedule, instantly elevating your conversational grace. Such a useful one. And finally, we tackled look into something. We framed that not just as investigate, but as a crucial commitment device. A promise of systematic research and dedicated follow-up action, which is absolutely vital for building and maintaining professional credibility and competence.
So fluency, as we've clearly seen today, isn't just built on the sheer size of your vocabulary list, is it?
Not at all.
It's built so much more on your mastery of the subtle social rules and functions these simple, everyday phrases carry within them. They really are the essential scaffolding, as you said, for effective daily interaction and for building and maintaining relationships.
Absolutely. And I'd strongly encourage you, the listener, to really practice using these specific phrases intentionally this week. Go out and try them. Focus particularly on making those required shifts in tone, the high versus low pitch for funny, the empathetic versus firm tone for nothing I can do.
And pay attention to the context and those necessary preceding or succeeding actions we discussed, like summarizing before, I'd better let you go, or actually following up after I'll look into it. Yes, the relevance of really getting this knowledge ingrained is immense. The better you understand and deploy this social subtext, the more effortlessly, the more authentically you're going to navigate conversations in English. You truly move past just translating words in your head.
And you start actually communicating genuine, nuanced intent. You connect.
Exactly.
So, to wrap up today, here's a final, maybe provocative thought for you to consider in your next conversation. Every single time you hear someone use a seemingly simple phrase like, that's funny, or there's nothing I can do, or I'd better let you go, realize that the speaker is making a small but potentially vital linguistic choice.
A choice designed to do something socially.
Right. Designed to establish rapport or maintain it, or manage expectations, or signal an exit politely. Think about how many daily misunderstandings, even between people who technically share a common language, could potentially be instantly resolved or even avoided altogether simply by recognizing the intent behind the phrase.
Was it confusion or humor? Was it a firm boundary or shared resignation? Was it a polite exit or a promise of action?
Exactly. Mastering these seemingly small linguistic choices, driven so heavily by tone and context rather than just dictionary definitions, really is the true foundation of building trust and achieving that effortless rapport in any language. So go out there and practice your nuance.